Hello, Dr. Group, and hello, everyone.
Hey, Joseph, good to be here.
It's awesome to see you, man. Thank you very much for coming on this interview. I really appreciate it.
Always, yeah. Thanks everybody for spending some of your beautiful, best asset in the world, most valuable asset in the world, which is time, which we talk about all the time, with us tonight.
Sure. And we got about one more minute. We'll let a few more people in. Had quite a few people register, and a lot of people will watch the recording. But yep, we'll be in good shape. So I will introduce you. This time, I don't know if you remember last year, 361 days ago, you were in a car and we did an interview. It was
I
great.
do for that, yeah.
All right. So, yep, let's begin for everyone. And let's see, we have a couple more people. Yep, and I see a lot of familiar faces. If you want to just chime in and put in the chat your questions, we'll take all your questions. Our goal is a whole bunch of questions, and I've got a whole bunch set up for us. And we're going to go over some basic topics. Okay, so let's begin right away. For people here that haven't met me, my name is Joseph Lucier from the company Anusara Wellness. My goal is to share information. The goal for today, for the interview, is to empower people with information, truthful information that's going to help them, help all of you to live a better life, to understand the truth, and most importantly, to have options. As I say, to have options, to know what you can do, to know that you have many choices on your journey for healing. So people are jumping in right now. So we're going to have a lot of people. So it's great. So for myself, I follow Dr. Group and all of his informational services and different things. My goal is his goal to help people to cleanse, purify, understand the truth, understand how to move forward in your lives and different things. And what I wanted to do is start right off the bat. I actually have a quote from Dr. Group, and then we're going to let him speak about himself. But we agree. So let me let in another person. So this quote from Dr. Group, which I got from your site, which I think sums it up really well, and it's the goal for today. It says, I truly believe my purpose, this is from Dr. Group, I truly believe my purpose on this planet is to clean our environment and assist in the rise of consciousness so we can all live in a future filled with light, love, health, and happiness. The philosophy I follow is full body cleansing, clean organic food, water, air, exercise, and nutritional supplementation. So that I got is the kind of the mission and goal of today, for all of us to understand more information. But what I wanted to do is also mention a couple of things about Dr. Group, and then I want to let him say it. His company, first thing what I wanted to do is explain he's the founder and a great company. I'm an herbalist, and if you want to know about the highest quality herbs, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit more detail, his company globalhealing.com. And he matches this also with an educational component, the Global Healing Institute, so that people can be informed about their choices. But what I wanted to do right away, Dr. Group, you can start to speak and give a little bit about yourself and also about your company, Global Healing, in terms of the quality and what you offer and why it's important to use plant, herbal remedies for healing, as you said in your vision statement, as I call it.
Yeah, Joseph, thank you for that. I mean, in all honesty, I'm not here to try to promote products and never really have been. It's more about teaching people the simple ways to heal themselves. But because of the environment we live in, because of all the toxic air, the food, the water, the deficiency in the soil, the amount of destruction that's happened through chemicals and pesticides and insecticides, most people are becoming deficient. And I always kind of go by the philosophy that the deficiencies are actually caused by toxicities. And I learned that years ago. I mean, you still have lots of natural practitioners and lots of people doing hair analysis and they're doing blood work and all this stuff. And so, oh, you're deficient in B, you're deficient in zinc, you're deficient in magnesium, you're deficient in calcium. You know, they go down the list. And this is the way we're trained in naturopathic school, chiropractic college. You know, big pharma's doctors are trained the same way to prescribe pharmaceuticals, and they do testing and they say, okay, you know, your liver's not functioning or you're not processing your fats or you have high blood pressure, you're going to be put on this medication. But what I learned is that what is the root cause? I mean, that my life has always been about identifying the root cause. And I learned, you know, I got sucked into that trap too. And I was just like, oh, you know, because it's the same thing in naturopathic school where you have all the vendors out there, just like all the pharma companies. And, you know, you have standard process and you have all these other ones. And they're like, from the time you get to chiropractic college or naturopathic college, and they're saying, hey, you know, you need to practice nutrition. You know, we have this great book here. All you have to do, if a patient walks in and says, I have migraine headaches, turn to the migraine headache page. And on the migraine headache page, it's like, oh, okay, take these 30 supplements. And or if the patient comes in and you look at their blood work and they're deficient in all these things, we have all, you know, send them out the door with a bottle of zinc, a bottle of calcium, a bottle of magnesium, a bottle of this, a bottle of that. And what ends up happening is you're just treating the symptoms still. You're doing the same thing as Big Pharma's doing. Now, granted that it's a natural way to do it and it's a healthier way to do it. And a lot of times it works. But if you don't address the root cause of the situation, you're not take responsibility for your own health. You're not ultimately going to reactivate your body's self-healing mechanism. And that's what it's all about. You know, the video, you know, I've been doing this for 30 years and the last 30 years, all the video interviews that I've done, you barely ever hear me talking about supplements because I really created global healing because I'm a mad scientist and I just couldn't find anything that was clean enough and highly energetic enough that I wanted to take. I mean, that's the truth. I mean, I never did it for money or anything like that. It was just, I just want to teach people how to get better and teach them how to be responsible for their own health. And what I noticed early on too was that it's just like we're in a constant state of bombardment through the media and the social media and really every single thing about our lives is engineered. It's all engineered. Like the political system is all engineered, the financial system is engineered, the educational system is engineered, the healthcare system is engineered, the weather is engineered. I mean, it's almost like the Truman Show that we're living in. It's just it's crazy to, you know, when I talk to people sometimes, I'm like, what if every part of your life has been engineered and you don't even know it? And that's kind of the situation we're in. And that's really what I want to wake people up is because part of this engineering process has been to get people addicted to sugar, to get people addicted to toxic foods, to get people addicted to drugs, to get people addicted to alcohol, to get people addicted to porn, to get people addicted to the things outside of themselves. And you know, one of the core things is to take away self-love. You know that famous line, love thyself. I can't tell you how many people I've talked to in the last 30 years, and I'm in the middle of doing an interview with them, or I'm, you know, a client and talking about their health, and they're telling me all these things that are going on in their life and all this stuff, and I just stop them halfway through and I say, do you love yourself? And they just start breaking down and crying. And are you happy with yourself? Are you confident with yourself? And then, you know, then I'll say, when is the last time you looked in the mirror and said, wow, I am amazing. I am incredible. I'm having like, I look better than I've ever looked before. I feel better than I've ever looked before. That's like when you truly love yourself. And you know what and I've done this with tens of thousands of people. And you know what the answer I usually get is? When I was a football player in high school, when I was a cheerleader, when I was on the dance team. It's always when they were like between 14 years old and 17 years old. I mean, I was born in 1968. I mean, nowadays, like, there wasn't a lot of obese people, honestly, when I was growing up. But nowadays, you have 60 to 80% of the teenagers that are obese. How can a teenager even look in the mirror and have that self-confidence? And health equals self-confidence, which equals success. So I really started Global Healing because I wanted to develop the best supplements in the world, and I didn't want any outside money. I did it all by myself because I didn't want anybody influencing me, telling me, oh, you got to do it this way, or I'm going to put money into your company. So it really was built on a shoestring budget, and it's still the way it is today. And it's a passion, it's a passion to to create high vibrational supplements, and really focusing around detoxification and the core minerals that everybody needs, which are selenium, boron, and iodine. But it's more than that. The supplements, if you really understand, and I still feel like I'm in kindergarten. I've been studying spirituality, and I've been studying the great alchemists and the great philosophers of the times, the ones that weren't manipulated. And usually they're the ones that die broke and diseased because no one can even understand them because they're light years ahead of the times, like Tesla and Einstein and Paracelsus. And um, you get to a point, just like Einstein and Tesla said, that everything is in energy and vibration. And that, on the surface, that sounds like, okay, what is that, energy and vibration? But as you grow spiritually, I believe that we're all here to become enlightened beings. And there's a certain amount of light. I mean, basically, there's light and darkness in this world, right? I mean, you have darkness, and everybody on the planet is in one of three categories. You're either in it goes dark where there's no light, and then you have a big gray area where it's half light and half dark, and then you have light up at the top, and the light vibration is the high vibration, and that's what we should work towards. And that's being humble, and that's being loving, and that's being full of joy and being full of happiness and not judging anybody because we're all one anyway. And that's a high vibration. That's a high vibrational state. You're not living in fear, anxiety, jealousy. You're living in peace, joy, happiness, love for yourself, for humanity, for other people. You don't, you're not in a state of hate, which they try to create. All this stuff is created. It's all created on purpose to try to get us to fight against each other. Because when we're doing that, we're not paying attention to ourselves, and we're not paying attention to our spiritual growth. So my training that I've had in alchemy, which was the basic form of Paracelsus and the great alchemists. I mean, alchemists, alchemy has been termed like a witchcraft and all these other things, but it really was the spiritual union between the planet and the etherical layers and the consciousness. And we hear science looks at things that they can see. But with the training that I've gone through, I've understood that a magnesium mineral, you can see that and test it, but there's so much more above that. There's ways to train, like these true spiritual alchemists that were understanding the layers beyond layers of the things that you can't see, the quantum energy fields, the vibrations, the minerals, the subatomic spins, and there's layers and layers and layers and different levels of consciousness and the power behind these plant-based, so anything from nature basically that's going to be good for the body. So what I try to do is capture that, not just take some inorganic mineral and heat it up and expose it to microwave frequencies and all that other stuff and just destroy it. We try to nurture it and rebirth it and transmute it to that higher level, the things that you can't see or you can't feel, but your body can feel. You know, that level of consciousness that we're all part of, and that's really what we're going through right now. This is a great time. I mean, people will say this is the worst time ever. This is the great awakening process that we're part of right now. And this, you know, basically everybody that's on this call right here is part of it too, because you wouldn't be on the call. I mean, these things don't just happen, you know, by happenstance. Like everybody that's here is actually here together as a community. We're all equal. We're just trying to help each other and learn from each other and grow together, because it's us, the ones that are on the call right now, that are the ones that are awake, the ones that are in the light, the ones that are needed, whether you think you were, you know, you're here for a certain purpose or not. I can pretty much guarantee that everybody on the call right now, they probably know it, but they're here to help this great awakening process and this transition to a higher level of consciousness on the planet. Light workers, I mean, you can call it whatever you want. I mean, it doesn't matter. This is not like a religion thing. I mean, it's all soul. It's all from God. It's all high levels of consciousness. The planet has been so suppressed of that this is the time that, you know, people really, the people that are in the lower levels of the gray area or even in the black areas where no light, and I mean, it's just like, and there's nothing bad, you know, it's just their karma, it's their life. They haven't woken up yet. They're still in that zombified state. And as some of these people wake up, or as some of these people grow, they always, as you grow, you seek out the wise ones. Okay. And it's not from an egotistical standpoint. It's just the way it is. You look for somebody who can teach you. You look for somebody that can hold your hand, somebody that can guide you up the ladder of consciousness into a higher vibrational or energetic state. So that's really the core. I mean, I knew that when I was 9 years old, why I was here to help transition the next level of consciousness into the planet, and to teach people what is reducing and suppressing their level of consciousness in their physical body, their mental body, and their spiritual body. So there's a long answer to a short question, but I mean, that's just, you know, we're all here together. I mean, this is great times. We're all going to be, you know, I'm sure everybody here has helped somebody, and we do it with love. That's the thing. It's not like we don't get upset and say, oh gosh, somebody else over here is like asking me for help now or whatever. I mean, this is the passion, and there's no better reward for me. No better reward. Like, I never thought about money. I always thought about helping people, and the money just comes. When you're doing something you love to do and you're passionate about it, you do it because you love to do it. Like, for me, the best reward ever is seeing people take control of their own life, like learn and start changing their life and start cleaning up their external environment, cleaning up their internal environment. And it's pain and trauma and suffering, right? Pain and trauma and suffering, it can be the best thing that ever happens to you, or it can be the worst thing that ever happens to you. Take, for example, cancer patients. A cancer patient that goes into the medical field, okay, has completely given up their soul, their energy, everything, to believing that the doctor is God and the doctor is going to heal them. Some of them have miracles, and, you know, because of prayer and stuff like that. But the majority of people that go down the medical route, they get poisoned, they get cut, they get burned. Medical route only addresses the symptoms, never addresses the root cause. And they end up dying, okay? I've interviewed so many cancer. We've helped cancer. Cancer was my, you know, that's my main studies for 30 years, alternative cancer treatments. And we've turned many people around and had many success stories with cancers. And I interview them, and they say when they're better, and it doesn't, cancer or any disease for that matter. And they say, cancer was the best. Now looking back, cancer was the best thing that ever happened to me. It made me realize that I was putting all my energy at work, doing these other things, and I was never focusing on my spiritual growth, my health. And I went through the most pain and trauma and suffering I've ever gone through in my life. But I conquered and I'm happy, and it was the best thing that ever happened to me. And that's what the world's going through right now. The world has been so energetically depressed and people have been so zombified that the only way, and this happens in ancient history, go back in ancient history, this always happens. It gets so bad that the only thing you can do is just shake the heck out of everybody and have them go through the most pain and trauma and suffering, because it's the only way they're actually going to wake up. The same thing happened with, I've interviewed many people that had drug addictions, porn, all these addictions, and they spent millions of dollars in these fancy rehab centers. Nothing worked. Then all of a sudden they're clean for 10 years. And I said, well, what was it? Teach me. We are all students. And they always say, I had to lose everything. I lost my job. I lost my wife. I lost my this. I lost my kids. I lost all my money. I was on the streets. I had went through the most pain, the most trauma, the most suffering. And when I was at my lowest point, something shifted inside of me. And it was that change that brought me to the light. And it was that change that changed my life forever. So this is what we're going through. And this has to happen. It has to happen. This is the state of the world today. So, buckle up and get ready for the best ride you've ever seen. Just make sure that you're taking care of yourself and because you need to be stabilizing and growing the light and the energy and the vibration and working on your own health to be there for everybody else that's going to need help. And you will be able to go through that, if you're awake already, you understand, you're watching this, you're paying attention to what Joe's doing. I mean, all of the technologies that we now have to combat, there's always a solution for everything negative they're doing. There's always a positive solution for it. So that's what I've been doing, is figuring out what they're doing negative and coming up with solutions, natural solutions to counteract what they're doing for the last 20 something years.
That's a great summary of everything. I think what I really like to get more information from you, or just input from different things. One of the really critical things I think is important for anybody, I agree, everybody here is to be of service, to understand the transformation of suffering and all these different things, because that's why we're here, to help others and to help us become more awake. Two important things I'd like you to maybe give a little bit more help on for understanding. One, which was really revolutionary for me, to understand that challenges are opportunities for learning and transformation. That's like so important for people. And the other one is really important, that really changed me as well, and I think it changed a lot of other people, is to understand what you mentioned before, as you hear in all religions, philosophies, about the idea of oneness, that we're all sacred beings here on the same journey together, which I think makes it really understandable that we're all here to help each other. And there's no accident that we're all here today listening to this talk at this very moment. So overcoming challenges as opportunities, and then also understanding that we're all on this journey together. And I think you've already expressed part of that, but can you give us a little bit more insight on that?
It's just a journey. It's just a journey. It's just a day by day journey. Just take it slow and do the best thing. In reality, I mean, I'm all about simplicity. I always love to break everything down to the simplest of the simplest of the simplest. And it took me years to try to break down life on this planet into 4 words. Okay. The 4 words are toxicity, okay, and that means like what affects us in negative ways and everything like that. And it's just toxicity. It's a toxic external environment, a toxic internal environment. It's the root cause of all mental, all physical, all conditions and all suffering. All suffering is just nothing more than toxicity. Okay, so if you break life down in this current timeline, it's toxicity. Well, what's the opposite of toxicity? Detoxification. Okay, so if toxicity is really the cause of pretty much everything that people are suffering from, the simplest thing to do is detoxify. It means detoxify your life. You have to understand what all the toxins are and how to get rid of them. And then the other 2 words that can describe your life here on this planet are time and decisions. So it's toxicity, detoxification, time, and decisions. Time is it is the most valuable asset. I learned that, I learned so much from these, I used to see royal family and millionaires and billionaires and famous people and all that stuff. And people think they have the best life ever. They have all this money and they're just going around and you only see the good side of things. Let me tell you, all my clients were all these people.
Mhm.
They had the hardest life. They were depressed. They were anxious. They had all kinds of health problems. They were stressed all the time. And I would always ask them, they'd been divorced 5 or 6 times. I mean, their life was miserable. And I would say, well, what would you do different? And they would always say, I wish I would have. I wish I would have spent more time with my kids. I wish I would have spent more time nurturing my relationship with my first wife or second or third or fourth wife or whatever, or opposite, the husband. Most of the time, these are guys because women always take care of their health a million times more than men do. And usually the woman in the family is the medicine woman. She's always looking out for the kids. She's always trying to get the husband to do things. So that's, the majority of the clients that I had. I mean, the women would actually bring the husband in. It's always like the woman that's telling her, you need to go see so and so. And I learned a lot from that because it taught me, what was important, and it taught me the value. It taught me the value of time, because when you hear somebody say, I wish I would have done this. I wish I would have spent more time with my kids. I wish I would have spent more time focusing on my health. I wish I would have spent more time focusing on my spiritual growth. Then you start realizing, oh my gosh, I mean, you can never get time back. I mean, it just hits you, it's like, oh my gosh, you need to spend every single day to the fullest and be as happy as you possibly can. You don't know if you're going to be here tomorrow. And it was the biggest thing that I realized, you can get money and lose it all and make it back, or you can do this or get multiple, relationships. But the one thing you can never get back is time. So time is like, you can make a decision, time and decisions. And this goes into the decisions part, because if you break everything down in your life, everything, it's all a decision. Okay. What time am I going to go to bed tonight? Or am I going to stay up and watch that Netflix series? Am I going to meditate before bed? Okay, I'm going to wait. I'm going to set my alarm time. What time am I going to set my alarm clock? Those are all mini decisions that you're making. Your whole life is nothing but mini decisions. Oh, I'm going to get up in the morning. What shirt am I going to wear? What am I going to go to the gym and work out? Am I going to meditate for 30 minutes in the morning? And people don't even analyze their decisions. Okay. They don't manage their time, and they don't analyze the decisions that they're making. So, I mean, and right now, even like, you can change your life is only a decision away from happiness. You're only a decision away from making good choices. You're only a decision away from working on yourself. You're only a decision away from improving your spirituality and going into prayer. So ultimately, your whole life comes down to toxicity and detoxification and time and decisions. That's what your whole life is about. So if you're making 80%, the whole 80-20 rule, I mean, it's true. It's been proven for centuries. If you're making 80% of the decisions that you make are beneficial for you, I mean, honestly, even 60%, 50%. Right now, if you were to analyze the whole planet, people are on the 5-95 rule, which means they're only making 5% good decisions and 95% bad decisions. If they go to a restaurant, are they going to have the salad, or are they going to have the 32-ounce porterhouse steak with the baked potato and cream pie, whatever, for dinner? You just have to shift your decisions. Your soul is always like the pure love in your body, and your mind is kind of like the evil, devil, always like manipulating you here and there. So you can make an effort to think. Just stop. That's what mindfulness is. Mindfulness is being present in the moment and just taking a moment to think consciously, am I making the right decision? And you can just ask yourself, is this going to raise my vibrational frequency, or is this going to lower my vibrational frequency? If that helps you, make good decisions. So if you just remember that, you're pretty much set. I mean, it's not rocket science. Health is not rocket science. Your life is not rocket science. It's actually very simple. God gave us sunlight to heal. God gave us the ability to sleep, to heal. God gave us the ability to drink our urine, to heal. God gave us the ability to meditate and pray. All of the things that really, grounding, for example, all the things that really affect us in very powerful ways have already been put into place, and they're all free. It's just making the time for yourself to balance out the areas of your life. Balance is a key factor. Balancing out your spiritual life, balancing out your work life, balancing out your personal life, balancing out your relationship life. It's all about balance. When things get off of balance, things start to shuffle.
So I think from my own experience, and I'm going to just mute people here, I just want to express from my own experience and just maybe encourage others as well, and like to get your feedback on it, because I noticed when I was young, I was probably in a dark state, and everything to me, everything looked negative, everything looked bad, everything looked like it wasn't worth living for. I wasn't really that desperate, but as I grew and I learned about the beauty of the world, and then I think just as we're all here today, and I'd like to get your input on this, as I changed my mindset to realize that everybody is sacred, the world is an amazing place. Like you say, we're gifted by the sun, the earth, the water, all these amazing things. As I learned about things, even our biology, our mitochondria, all these things are just like miracles. We are a bundle of miracles all the time. But in my own experience, and I'd like to know yours, is as I became more awake about the beauty of the world, the sacredness of all sentient beings, all these different things happened as these people you mentioned, they shifted, things showed up, things happened, more opening and acceleration of awareness and opportunities just have never stopped since then. I mean, I think that's a good lesson for everybody to understand. If you can connect with that beauty of the world will give it back to you as a gift with an expanding amount of beauty and love and companionship and communities. That's my experience, because when I was young, I wasn't that way. As I grew older, and then bang, they call it the law of attraction, but I think that's kind of a marketing thing. But I think the more light we embrace, the more we attract, and the more we build, and the more suffering we can help to reduce. So I'd like to get your input on that, because I really enjoy what you're talking about.
It just goes back again to the simplicity of just loving yourself and being confident in yourself and finding a passion that you love to do. See, this is another thing that I learned by interviewing people. It's like most people are not happy with their job. A lot of times they're not happy with their relationship. Then I ask them, so, well, what are you doing to, try to change that? What are you doing to try to change your job environment? And they say nothing, like, what are you trying to do to improve your relationship? It's like nothing, it's like, how can you expect to be working 12 hours a day at a job and be married and come home and, sit on the couch, drink a beer or whatever, not spend any communication or any time with your wife or your kids or anything like that, and expect that to grow and to prosper and to become better? Everything is work in some way, shape, or form. It can, you can say work is, you should enjoy the work. You should want to improve your relationship. That's where the balance part of it comes in. The higher that you get and the more balance that you get, things will start, and the appreciation and gratitude that you have. That's another thing that's missing. And forgiveness. Okay. It's very hard for people to forgive. They're holding on to all different kinds of negative emotions all the time. It's the way they've been programmed. It's like, it's not even like their fault. You know what I mean? I don't even like to lay blame. It is the programming. It is the manipulation that you've had since birth. And it's not easy to break out of that. I mean, it takes time. Anything that you want to accomplish in life takes dedication, and the more passionate, the more energy, the more flow, the more love, the more power you put behind that, the more it's going to come back to you. And especially when you're helping people without expectations, when you're doing things not expecting anything in return, that's when it really opens up for you. Because people, when you do something for somebody, you can say, "Oh, I did this for somebody out of kindness or love." I mean, I've talked to people about this, and they're like, recently I was talking to somebody, and I said, "You know what? I've been sending Christmas cards to these people for the last 20 years, and I never even get a Christmas card back from them. I'm just going to stop sending Christmas cards to them." And I was like, "Well, that means that you weren't sending the Christmas cards out of love, because if you're sending the Christmas cards out of love, you're not expecting anything in return."
Mhm.
That's a huge part of growth, that you, when you give from the heart. You give because you want to, and when you give with love behind it, and that's when God and the universe and the vibrations and the energy are united, and that's when you get tenfold coming back at you. But if you have any inkling or thought or anything like that in your head that, "Oh, I gotta go get somebody a birthday present because it's their birthday. Oh, it's gonna cost me $50," and you're all negative about it and blah, blah, blah. And then you give the birthday present, say, "Hey, hey, hey," and you have a fake smile. That doesn't work. Okay. Don't even do it. If you're not gonna do it out of love, then just don't do it at all. Because that's the same thing's gonna come back to you. And it's the law of karma, it's the energy, it's the vibration. So you just have to change your mindset, and if you can always come from a state of peace and love and happiness, then that's the ultimate. It's like David Wolf taught me, the best day ever. I mean, you just have to get in your mind, it's the decisions again. He comes back to the decisions. I'm going to have the best day ever. I'm going to have the best life ever. I'm going to have the best meal ever. I'm going to have, today's going to be the best work day ever. Whenever you're challenged with things in your life, this is something that really kind of helped me transform. And all the challenges, I just look at it as a way to grow
Mhm.
and say, okay, this is a challenge that I'm going through in my life right now. What do I need to learn from this? Because that's also another, the universe will also send things to you, karma. Maybe it could be from this life, past life, whatever. And if you look at it, just like disease, cancer, that's really there for you to learn, and for you to start spending more time with yourself and understanding who you are as an individual and as a spiritual being. So really, everything that you call negative, that people call negative, are these problems and all this stuff that arises. It's really more of it's more of kind of a wake-up call for you to realize what it is, and try to, figure out a way to learn from it and to grow from it and to solve it, so you can move on, to the next thing.
Great. I'm just going to look at a couple of questions here because I know you like to get questions from the viewers as well. So let's think of something, a couple of things that, in terms of embracing this awakening or this transformation of consciousness through gratitude, forgiveness, all these great things that can really help us a lot. I think forgiveness is critical, transformation, all these different things. Just being aware of the beauty of life that we've been given, and to be of service, like you say, unconditional, unattached, no attachment, which I think is a key word for people to understand, that you give without expecting anything in return. That's a great energy. A couple of, just for some people that are asking some questions, what would you say would be a couple of choices people can think about today in terms of, say, choices for healthy water or urotherapy, a couple of things that are really practical, basically free, and that they can really focus on to start to get these healthy choices into their lives and to start to embrace this consciousness of gratefulness and all these different things.
Well, even, a lot of these negative emotional patterns that we all, it doesn't matter who you are, you're still going to go through these because this planet is a balance of negative and positive. This plane is that. It's the yin and the yang. I mean, look at any, all the philosophers in the history of this planet here. You go through phases of happiness and joy, and then you go through phases of, emotional instability or something like that. But those are all, challenges that you should work through. What I always come back to, which always works the best, is detox. Anytime you're going through a challenge, it's just a reminder to detoxify. You got to detoxify. You got to keep your body detoxified all the time. Keep your intestines clean and healthy. Keep your liver clean. Keep all the parasites out of your body and keep all the chemicals and heavy metals out of your body. Those four things are the key structure to living the best healthy life that you possibly can. We've been using it with millions of people for the last 30 years. You just got to keep cleaning and healing your gut. You got to keep cleaning the liver. You got to keep cleaning all the parasites out of your body. Because believe it or not, I mean, when you have like a lot of excess mold and fungus and all this other stuff and worms, they can create all kinds of emotional disturbances. I mean, they can set you into suicidal thoughts. They can set you into deep depression. They can set you into anxiety. They can put, all kinds of stuff. That's been proven. And now we have the EMFs and all these other stuff. So, there's no better time than right now because there is so much toxicity in the world than to just focus always on cleansing the body, mind, and the soul and protecting yourself from the EMFs and protecting eliminating all the metals and all that stuff from the system. So, um, the urine therapy is one of the best ways to do that. It's by far the most powerful medicine that you can ever create for yourself. It's more than a medicine. It's an alchemical, super conscious substance, and it's another reason why we've been brainwashed. Like the things that I usually talk about are the things that everybody goes, "Ooh, gross, that's crazy. Oh my gosh, that's toxic." Just like I talk about distilled water. I mean, all the ancient cultures collected rainwater and only drank distilled water. I mean, why are we drinking inorganic mineral rich, waters and bottled waters and all that stuff? All we're doing is turning ourselves to stone over time. An organic mineral is something in a fruit or a vegetable or something grown from nature. It's got a carbon on it, and inorganic minerals are rocks. They're just, in the streams, or they're coming up from the earth, and they're not healthy, but we've been contaminated with excess inorganic minerals. So, I recommend people get a distiller. You can buy one for $300 on Amazon. Drink 80% or more of your water that you consume should be distilled water. Water is one of the most powerful healing agents known to man, and it's so inexpensive. Just by drinking, 80% of your water intake every single day, distilled water, you'll be amazed at how good you start feeling over a period of time. That's if you look back into the 1900s, 1920s to the 1950s, you look at Arnold Aird, you look at Kellogg Sanitarium, you look at some of the, Hilton Hotema, you look at all these healers that were doing hydrotherapy clinics. All they did was use water, and they have documented cases of, eliminating every single disease, putting hot water towels and cold water towels and having people just do water fasting or just doing distilled water. Water is the universal solvent. It is so underrated. It is so powerful, but it has to be the right type of water. It has to be distilled water, and distilled water cleans your body of all those metals and inorganic minerals that are clogging everything up. And then the urine, I mean, I could talk for days on the urine therapy and the conspiracy behind that and how it's been suppressed. But I mean, you can go to my website, urotherapyresearch.com, and you can read all about it yourself, which I recommend. I mean, I get medical doctors calling me up and challenging me. It's like, what are you doing talking about telling people to drink their own urine? I'm like, have you done the research? And they're like, I was taught that urine is toxic and urine is bad for you and all this stuff. And I was like, okay, can you name like 5 components in urine? And they're like, uric acid, which is dangerous. And I'm like, why are you challenging me when you actually know nothing? about a subject. Once you read this, document I'll send you, and I have a whole like basic book on the science behind urine therapy, and the medical profession has known about it for years. Half the prescription medications people take are made from human urine or horse urine. Um, every single one of us has lived on our own urine. We, in the womb, what do you think the amniotic fluid is? It's urine. You drink your own urine and you bathe in your own urine until you're born. The first 3 months you're in your mom's urine, and once your kidneys develop, you're soaking in your own urine until you're born. You're breathing it. It's on your skin, everything. Um, it's got the most powerful, omnipotent stem cells in it. It regenerates you. It's the most powerful vibrational substance known. 1 liter of urine, 1 liter of your own urine, has 8.64 kilowatts of electricity. They did studies in India where they had people pee in a mason jar, and it ran a medium-sized home. I mean, why do we even have electricity? You can just use your own urine and power your whole house. You have 4 people in the house. That's like what, 30 kilowatts of electricity. See, all this stuff is suppressed. All the good stuff is suppressed. This is the stuff they don't want anybody knowing. So that's why it takes someone like me to come out there and start talking about it. And for years I was known as the poop doctor, and now I'm known as the poop and urine doctor.
Oh, thanks for that clarification there. Maybe, two things. One is the ozonated magnesium oxide, which is from Tesla invention and then enhanced through your program. I think a lot of people don't realize that there's a lot of great technologies. I was going to ask first, I have a specific question from one of the audience. He says, what is the white accumulation that's in the bottom of jars when urine sits for several weeks? I guess that would be something specific. And then the other thing is if you could also talk about the ozonated magnesium oxide. As you said, detoxification starts in the gut. Number one, the best thing I've ever seen is the ozonated, the oxy powder. So that is pretty thorough in what it does in terms of cleansing. And then, what do you think? That's from Tesla, from what I understand, the 1800s. So people like Tesla, Reich, and all these other people who, in addition to that question, who are some other people that have influenced you that you've discovered? I know for myself over the last 20 or 30 years, found out that there's been a lot of information that just hasn't been available through these orgonite technologies, Tesla, science technologies, and healing technologies. But first thing, what's the white accumulation at the bottom of a jar? And then number 2 would be about the oxy powder. And number 3, maybe your superheroes in the world of science and healing pioneers.
Yeah, so the white stuff in the bottom of the jar of the aged or evolved urine is a combination of life. It's kind of like the mother that forms in the apple cider vinegar. And it's different for every single person, but it contains a major portion of stem cells. It's tissue. It's growing actually in the urine. But that can depend. We don't have, unfortunately, like with urine therapy, if you look back even 4,000 years ago with the Damar Tantra and the ancient cultures that were using it for everything from washing clothes to like urine was such a valuable commodity that even in some cultures, you couldn't even, when you had a baby, there was a person sent from the high court, from the king and queen, to sit there and watch that family and the baby, and they had special diapers, and every time the baby peed in the diapers, that individual from the royal court would run the diapers back to the king and queen and squeeze out the urine, and then they would use that cloth to put it on their face, and it was that valuable, okay? It's always been, even in the Civil War, they used urine to make gunpowder, and they've used it as fertilizer for ancient history. Every urine was always utilized for everything. They drank it, they put it on their skin. It's just incredibly powerful. So that white substance can be, just additional protein fragments as well. But there's no university really that's been wanting to fund any type of deep urine research. So 99% of all of the research that's been done on urine is anecdotal over the years. But there's plenty of evidence that it's been able to restore and regenerate every single condition. I mean, I'm not Down syndrome or some sort of genetic condition like that, but any type of acquired condition. And I've personally witnessed people on, one or 2 days away from death that couldn't even eat any food, that were about to be put on feeding tubes and everything else, couldn't take any natural medicine, and the only thing that they had left was their own urine. And they started drinking their own urine, and their appetite came back, and their paleness, they went from basically pale white to blood coming back into their skin, and they survived. Nothing else worked, and they came basically from death's door all the way back to being healthy, and it was the only thing that saved their life. There's so many I mean, I've literally spent years looking at the documentation and talking to people. So that's no, to answer the question, nobody knows 100% for sure what the liquid is, the mother is, but that's, everybody was different. You'd have to analyze it. Most of it should be, cells. Second question is oxy powder, which is Tesla's original formula. I had the great, beautiful opportunity to be part of the Tesla research team in 2000 something, early 2000s. Myself, Joseph Tills, which is supposedly the reincarnation of Tesla. When he was 9 years old, he drew out all of Tesla's formulas, and he's the only one in the world that's built an original Tesla coil 30 feet high in the air. He started Plasma Zone back in when he was like 16 years old. He said he'd been communicating with Tesla. Everybody, he looks like Tesla. Everybody says it's Tesla reincarnated. He was on the team. Gosh, he was just like, he was like Tesla. I mean, the guy was, I couldn't even understand what he was saying half the time. And there was a few other people on the team, and basically we were looking at Tesla's records and all of the stuff that he was doing. And Tesla was very involved in health. I mean, he really loved humanity. It was just a shame that these great scientists get so taken advantage of. And Tesla, before he died, wanted to develop something, because Tesla, if you ever have a chance and you can find a copy of a very rare book called The Wall of Light, it was written by Tesla's understudy, Arthur Matthews. Arthur Matthews came to Tesla when he was 16 years old, and it was like Tesla, he was like Tesla's son. No one ever knew about Arthur Matthews. Arthur Matthews, the lineage of Tesla was Tesla, Arthur Matthews, George Freebot, and our team. That was really the lineage up to today, up until the 2000s. So we were like fourth in line for Tesla, because it was, George was on the team with us, George Freebot, myself, Larry Royce, Joseph Tills, and a couple other people. Arthur Matthews wrote the real autobiography of Tesla in The Wall of Light, and would actually tell stories about how the spaceships would come, and they would go out into the desert, and Tesla was a Venusian, and they would, Tesla had all this technology. But before he died, he saw, and Tesla could see into the future or get visions into the future, and he saw that there was a lot of things. That all disease starts in the gut, like, which we all talk about. All disease starts in the gut, all health begins in the gut. So before he died, he wanted to develop a product that the future could use, and that would be different type of product, not like herbal cascara or senna or something that can damage your gut. It doesn't really clean and oxidize anything. It's just those herbs more or less work as osmotic-based herbs. And so he met with a guy named Dr. Eugene Bloss in 1898 in a hotel room, and they developed the first ozonated, stabilized monatomic oxygen product using magnesium. It's not a magnesium product, which I have to tell people that all the time. They're like, oh, that's just a magnesium laxative. It's not, because the Tesla looked at all the different types of minerals, and if you look at the lattice, you can type in the lattice for magnesium oxide on Google. It's a very structured lattice, and that's the molecular lattice was what Tesla chose to be able to bond and stabilize the monatomic or reactive oxygen species. Okay, oxygen is O2. It's not reactive, it's bound. When you get to O1 or O3, which is ozone, or O4, O5, O6, O8, it goes all the way up. The more reactive oxygens you have bound together, the faster it usually dissipates and the more reactive it is. So he bonded to monatomic oxygen, which technically today, according to science, is still impossible to do, by the way. And so we ended up getting that recipe, and so we have honored Tesla by selling his product for the last 20 something years, the oxy powder, which is releases these oxygen gases into the intestines, and those bond to positively charged bacteria or metals or anything else that's in there that needs to be oxidized out or converted, like all the compacted fecal matter that people have, 10, 20, 30 pounds of compacted hard fecal matter in their intestinal lining that turns that solid matter into a liquid or a gas. It's an oxidation reduction reaction. And that's what Tesla wanted to do with that. So that product is incredible and has just helped, so many people over the years. And the question about who are my mentors, I mean, Tesla, Paracelsus. Paracelsus was the founder of chemistry and alchemy, and the philosopher's stone, and how to transmute elements, how to care for nature, how to care for the earth. Steiner, um, Manly Hall, Lakofsky, Royal Raymond Rife. I was on his research team. And just people, like I said earlier, a lot of the things I learned, I just learned from regular people, just asking them about their life and asking them about some of the things that they would do different. And, everybody can be a teacher if you just ask questions. I don't have like one particular person that I can say, well, Dr. Ishwar Puri taught me so much about spirituality. He passed away a few years ago. He was a huge mentor for me because it just got to the point where nobody could answer my questions regarding the one question I had since I was 9 years old, which is when I started studying all the different types of spiritual paths. And there was just one key simplicity and written in everything, and that was the kingdom of heaven is within. And then, since I was 9, I kept asking all these priests and all these spiritual leaders, how do I access the kingdom of heaven within? How is that? Why is it written everywhere, but nobody teaches it? Well, he's the one that finally taught me how to access the kingdom of heaven within. So, if any of you guys are interested, you can pull him up on YouTube. So anyway, hopefully that answers your questions there.
Sure, thanks. That was great. I think a lot of what we want to talk about today and stuff is how people here, like you say, we're all here for a purpose. We're all here with the same kind of goal to learn from each other. I know my greatest teachers in my practice are my patients and my friends because they ask questions and I learn from them. And I think that's the mindset that we all need to have because everybody can be our teacher. Everybody has something to say. And I think one of the greatest things I learned later in life, especially, is to really be able to listen to what people are saying. They may say something because they want to say it, or they may be saying something because they're suffering. And we have to understand that they're not saying it out of anger. They're saying it out of suffering. And again, we have to open our heart of compassion for them, which again opens the door for that universal connection that we're all talking about here today. So a couple of quick questions from the audience here. Something specific, it says, how are our children going to have relationships? And I heard a recent interview you were talking about the other day. Early teens and porn is so readily available. In terms of relationships, you mentioned on another interview, the relationship of going into a relationship of marriage beyond the physical part, where it's actually a spiritual unity for growth. And I think you mentioned that in a recent interview that I was talking about. And if you'd like to expand upon that, I think that would really be helpful because that's a very important aspect for people to understand that spiritual component of marriage and union as well. And you said you might even put a course on it.
That gets into some very deep philosophy. What I've learned looking and studying the Tao, the ancient Chinese method, because in China, we cut down China a lot, and I do because all the ingredients coming from there are like toxic, but you can't judge everybody. Like, as a matter of fact, like most of the people in China, they don't really like their government like us. You know what I mean? It's usually it's the same for every country, So it's like, we have this big thing about, oh, we hate China and all this, but there's actually lots of deep rooted. They haven't burned all the history books and everything like we have in many other countries to try to rewrite history. And if you had ancient Tibet and the Himalayas and the ancient Taoism and the ancient traditional Chinese medicine. And, that was based on a union of the male and female because it's the yin and the yang again. It's the masculine and the feminine. We need the balance of the masculine and the feminine energies. And one of the biggest, and if you really want to get into this, one of the biggest deceptions ever laid upon humanity and what's taught to humanity is the sexual ways that have been taught. Because sex has become a negative, animalistic type experience. The ancient Taoism and the ancient philosophers know, and even the cabal and the dark forces know the power of, if they can cut the tie with, teaching people to have sex the wrong way. The ancient traditional, the love-making way, they even named it sex, but it used to be a very spiritual process of lovemaking. And the spiritual teachers and many people in civilization the men would practice semen retention, because the semen is the more that you ejaculate, the more that you're pushing out the life. What they would teach is injaculation and a bonding of energy between the male and the female to create an experience like no other. Like, nowadays, whether it's a female orgasm or a male orgasm, it's just boom, it's done, it's over. If you really study the true form of lovemaking, it's an experience that's almost like an out-of-body experience, and it's a really, really deep, thick bonding of the male and the female energies, and it's actually very healing. It's used to regenerate. It's used to heal the body. And so the males at an early age would go through a training, and the women would go through training too, lovemaking training, which was about utilizing the energy forces and bringing them up and circulating them down. And the men would be trained to keep their semen inside of them, because the semen, when it's kept inside of them, creates life, and it creates a stronger energy field, and it creates a healing, and it creates, so many other benefits. And so purposely, they've introduced porn. Was one of the first things that, when the internet was created, by the way, that was put on there by the NSA and the CIA. And, that's a whole nother story in the dark forces, because they want you to think in your head that the more that you ejaculate and the more that you're losing your semen, the worse off you're going to be emotionally, physically, and spiritually. And so it's a shame that we have what we have today. Most women are completely frustrated and unsatisfied, because it takes women a long time to build up their fire or their energy, and men just the opposite. And so we have lots of divorces, we have lots of relationships, and that's all purposely created that way. It's all purposely done that way, to separate families, to have people go through pain and trauma and suffering with divorces. Nobody is trained in the proper way to experience what that experience is truly all about. And it goes deeper than just the physical level. It goes, what they would call a superior internal orgasm goes to, and I've experienced it myself, and I can tell you that it's an out-of-body experience. It's something that, you can't even, put words into it. It's like your souls are merging together, and you're not even here in the physical plane. It's a very magical love. It's just like, most people, you ask them, have you ever felt what true love feels like? And I say, no. This is another huge problem. Like, no one even really knows or can define love or what it feels like. And it's because they're trained not to. They're indoctrinated not to. And, once you practice that, there's a great book called Tao of Sexology by Chang, which I, recommend, women and men read. There's sections in there. And again, it's like, everything that we've been taught, you almost have to think the opposite of it. It's like, I've learned that over the years. It's just like, wow, is this really the truth? Is this really, you just have to question everything. You have to think, is this really the truth? And is this really the way that we should do things? And usually most of the times it's actually just the opposite. It's just the opposite of what we've been taught. And I am worried about the children. I mean, I've got 2 kids, and the children is the next generation. The relationships, nowadays, kids don't even communicate. Like when I was a kid, I mean, I remember being completely freaked out and nervous, for a week before I, had the guts to go ask a girl to go on a date to the roller skating rink with me. And, I built up the courage after a week and finally asked her, and she said yes. And I was like the happiest kid in the world, and, back then we didn't have, we just had the long lime green phone in our house which was the best invention in the world, was when they came out with the 20-foot cord. So we could actually take the phone in our room and talk. And, the excitement and the joy of like, in the buildup of actually having to do that. And then, going out on your, then we had to go like, talk to the parents and ask the parent, hey, can I, meet the dad, and, ask, if we could take the daughter out. I mean, things these days are just, kids don't even communicate. I watch, they text each other. They just want to, it's just become a digital world, and they're just so sucked into this digital world, and it's all part of the transhumanism agenda. I mean, Klaus Schwab and the World Economic Forum, I mean, they all just come out in your face and they tell you. I mean, it's not like conspiracy theory anymore. It's just like, yes, it's a transhumanism agenda. And but I have faith, I have faith and I have hope, because, things can change instantaneously. And kids don't read anymore, adults don't read anymore, uh but it all happens because it's happening. You know what I mean? There's like, it's all part of the plan. You can't stress about it. You can't, all you can do is just be there and just try to do good and try to help as much as you can. Have faith, have hope, and do the best that you can. I mean, I delivered both of my kids. I have a 17-year-old and a 15-year-old, both boys. I delivered them both at home myself. Never seen a hospital, never seen a doctor's office until recently. My older one rebelled against me and everything that I've taught him, and that's, teenager stuff. I'm the dad that's the weirdo that, is telling people to drink urine and blah, blah, blah. And, had to go through a big learning lesson. But I just, things happen the way they happen, and things are going to play out the way they're going to play out. You just have to do the best you can and be there and trust, and sometimes even surrender. God's in your hands, you know what I mean? Just like whatever happens, happens. It's all part of the whole grand scheme of things in life. That's what life is.
Yeah, I think surrender is important really important in all these different things we're talking about. And so I think if people have as their baseline the spiritual growth as opposed to these other things, of course, thinking back, a lot of the writings of Mantak Chia and other things are also good for references as well. Uh,
Yeah,
so
actually, Michael Wynn actually wrote all of Montauk Chia's books, and he's changed a lot of the Montauk Chia was based when he was writing the books, and this goes back to the ancient sexual, wisdom, love-making wisdom, etc. Um, every country has its so China was a matriarchal society and then switched to a patriarchal society, and China has a a hive mind, let's say, like when you're a Chinese citizen and you're born, you're working first. Your first priority is for the group. Okay, it's for China. In the US, we have an individual mindset. It's not a group mindset. So every culture is different. So Montauk Chia based his book off of the mindset of China, the group mindset. Michael Wynn, he didn't speak English, and Michael Wynn was his first student. Michael Wynn wrote all of most of Montauk Chia's books for him. But Michael Wynn has really taken it to the next level. I was just with Michael actually like 3 days ago. He's taught me some amazing things about the ancient methods of qigong and energy and deep level, alchemical transmutations and power of quantum energy fields and stuff like that, and whole new experiences in lovemaking. So he has I think I can't remember what his website is, but you can type in Michael Wynn. He's got some really good information out there, and he's got some really good books too that you can get on his website. But basically Montauk, he just told me Montauk's like he got vaxxed 4 times and all kinds of stuff, and just sad. But Montauk, still brought this information forward to the world. So I mean, that's great. It's kind of one of the things I hope no one ever finds out, because they're scared of the union. See, they separate the masculine and feminine energies. When the masculine and the feminine energies combine, it's extremely powerful, and they're scared of that. That's why they try to break everybody up all the time.
So let me go over a few more questions. Thank you for that. A couple of questions more on water, because like you say, water is so vital. I mean, there are even these stir wands and different things that people use. But in terms of distilled water, 2 things. One is, because it's empty, basically empty, distilled, does it leach minerals out of your body? And the other one, for something like that, would it be good to maybe activate it with salt or maybe sea vegetables or something like that?
So distilled water for health purposes should be drank warm, actually, and by itself on an empty stomach. And that's when you're really going to get the health benefits. If you warm it up to 98.6, the body temperature, there's no energy that takes from the body to cool that, and it works extremely well to go in and to grab inorganic minerals. I get this question all the time. This is the big falsity. This is what I was taught. This is what everybody's taught. Oh, to drink distilled water, it's going to take the minerals out of your body. Distilled water will take the inorganic minerals out of your body. Remember, inorganic minerals are not carbon-based. Inorganic minerals are classified as metals.
Mm-hmm.
We are consuming massive amounts of these inorganic minerals. When you take an organic mineral from a live fruit or vegetable or nut or seed or anything like that, a living organic carbon-based mineral, but most people, again, 95% of people's diets are inorganic. 5% people eat live living food during the day. Organic minerals are there's different layers of energy to an organic mineral because it's coming from a living plant. So it's not just a dead rock, okay? Its electron spin goes to the right. It's has different layers of subatomic energy fields and quantum energy fields to it, and it gets utilized and absorbed instantaneously. And there's no way your distilled water is going to take any organic minerals out of the body once within, it's not going to happen. The distilled water is going to go after the organic minerals. What is the water inside of an apple? It is distilled water. Urine is basically distilled water. All the water in plants and everything is basically distilled active organic minerals in there. I mean, it's the cleanest water in the world. Basically, it's energized with energy and vibration. And distilled water will take the minerals out of your body. It'll take the bad minerals out of your body. It's just a play on words. We're consuming 90% of inorganic minerals and not consuming organic minerals. Now, another big question I get all the time too is like, should I add salt or should I add lemons or should I add this to the distilled water?
Yep.
No, you shouldn't. If you're using distilled water for health and for cleansing and detoxification, it should be drank warm by itself on an empty stomach. Now, if you're making any teas or if you're doing anything like that, yeah, you can use distilled water for that. That's fine. Now, the interesting thing with salt is there's two sides of the story out there. It's like some people say salt is good for you, and some people say salt is bad for you. Well, of course, it depends on the type of salt, but natural salts that are from the earth or, Himalayan crystal salt or really like deep bed salt deposits. The interesting thing with salt is it has a totally different effect on your body when you eat it in a raw crystalline form or whether you dissolve it in water. There's a transformation that happens in salt when you put it in water. So if you look at the Soleil solutions, for example, Soleil solution is a saturated water. You take distilled water and you saturate it, and the minerals actually change from inorganic to an atomic form of minerals once it's in the distilled water. Kind of similar to like what happens in plants. It's very fascinating. I'm writing a huge book on that right now. It's a PDF. It's almost done with all of these questions answered regarding distilled water, regarding, what you can add in it, how it reacts to this, can I put salt in my water? So it's actually not a bad thing to have a mason jar full of distilled water and then have, I like to use multiple different salts from around the world. I'll take some black volcanic salt from Hawaii a little bit. I'll take some Himalayan crystal salt. I'll take some glacial salt. Because salt also contains ancient archaea. And this is why the ancient archaea is the basic life form of everything on the planet. And they've wiped, ancient archaea can be found in salt, it can be found in clay, it can be found in lava, and it can be found deep, about 50, deep underneath the roots of a tree that's 200 years old or more. And these ancient organisms really are the food and the basic memory ecosystem of life. And I just found out about archaea. I didn't even know anything about archaea organisms. Most people don't. There's a really good book written on beneath. I can't remember what it is, but it's by David Wolf, not David Avocado Wolf, but just so happens there's another David Wolf, and it's something like Soil Beneath Our Feet or something like that. And it talks about the scientists that start studying the archaea. And I really believe that the archaea might actually on that subject. So we've been collecting salt samples for the last 4 years from all around the world. And so we have 42 different rare salt samples from around the world, and we just tested them. And that combination of salt that we've been collecting has over 600 types of archaea organisms and over 300 eukaryotic organisms. And I really think that this is going to be a major breakthrough in our industry, that we're going to be able to have this ancient archaea formula that people can take and get these original healing organisms back into their body, once again to help heal all this stuff that's happening.
That's great. All right. So I look forward to getting that. I'll read that. You have your online institute as well for people to be empowered to learn more. Power, education is power. And a couple of other questions from people. We have a few minutes more before we finish up. And let's see here. Everybody's talking about all the things we've been talking about. One of the things is food recommendations in general. Like for example, I'm plant-based, raw food, vegan, as I think David Avocado Wolf has professed in the past as well with his books and stuff. Would that be, that's full of life, light, biophotons and all that stuff. Would that be a good starting point for people to transition to, say, plant-based diet?
Everybody's different, and if it creates stress and anxiety and it creates negative emotions, or it's, my philosophy is slowly transition to a plant-based diet, slowly start transitioning off, and set realistic goals for yourself. Just say, I'm going to be 50, I'm going to be 50% cooked and 50% plant or whatever, and then just slowly working towards it. I haven't found that, cold turkeying anything really works for people. It's more of a slow transition, and when you start feeling better, just start implementing it, more living foods into your diet, especially for breakfast. I recommend just eat fruits. Fruits are the best thing you can eat for breakfast because they contain living fiber, water, nutrients, organic nutrients, and vitamins and minerals. And it's just, all the stuff that you processed from the night before when you were sleeping that needs to be flushed out. Best thing you can do is eat fruit for breakfast in the morning. That doesn't mean fruit and yogurt and fruit mixed in cereal and any of that, because that clogs everything up. And then, believe it or not, we really don't need to be eating that much as humans. We eat 10 times the amount of food that we actually need to sustain ourselves. That's a whole nother thing that was implemented into society to make us get addicted to food and to sugar and to all these chemicals, and just overeat and overeat and overeat. And just set a goal for yourself. Like, if you're set a goal for yourself to get within 15 pounds of what your normal weight should be. Okay. Like, you'd be amazed at what happens with your mental and your spiritual and your physical health when you get to be within 15 pounds of what your normal weight should be. So let's say if you're a guy and you're 6 foot tall, about 165 pounds, it would be a good weight. Now that sounds crazy, right? But we store so much fat and we continue to eat, and our livers are so congested that they just can't process and break down all these fats anymore. And it's just about taking responsibility for your own health.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'll run through some of these questions if you don't, real fast a little bit. What can you share about Shilajit? Shilajit is awesome. If you just get a really good source, most of the sources are contaminated. They're processed with chemicals. If you can get a really good source harvested above 18,000 feet, that would be the best, which we use in our BioPQQ Shilajit formula. Let's see. Any limitations on how long to take oxy powder? I mean, you can take it, once or twice a week if you want, after you do an initial cleanse, 3 times a week. It doesn't really matter. We've had people that have been taking it every single day for over 30 years. I don't recommend that with anything though. Like what I always talk about is like really get to the root cause of what you're doing. So I'm not recommending you do that. I always like to cycle my supplements so the body never gets used to any one thing. There are 3 main minerals that everybody pretty much on the planet is deficient in, and I would recommend for everybody, and that's selenium, boron, and iodine. That doesn't mean you have to take them every single day, but make sure that boron, iodine, and boron actually is the mineral that the body requires the most for the most reactions in the system, enzymatic reactions, cellular reactions, everything. There's no other mineral on the planet that is needed more than boron for your body for the most reactions. Yet, have you heard too many people talking about boron? No, you haven't. So make sure you're on boron at least once or twice or 3 times a week. We have a microsomal boron at Global Healing. And then iodine too, iodine a few times a week. Make sure it's the nascent form of iodine, the atomic form, and then selenium. Just with those 3 minerals, you're going to make sure that you're going to have everything, the base of every reaction covered in your body. Okay, let's see. Somebody had mentioned up here about it's funny, the Ringing Cedars books by Vladimir Megre. That's a good read, the Anastasia books. It's really good. If anyone hasn't read those series, the Anastasia series by Vladimir Megre, the Ringing Cedar series, it's basically like about what Earth should be like, the communities and the ability to raise yourself to a level of consciousness where you can communicate with you feel one with Mother Earth. I mean, you can communicate with the animals and you can communicate with the trees and you can feel the energy here of all the living beings. That's pretty interesting. Somebody mentioned that. Okay, so the purest sea salt. Yes, a lot of the Himalayan crystal salt is contaminated. And so the purest salt, unfortunately, is what we've been working on. And I don't have that available for sale yet because it's going to be put in the ancient Archaea. And that's going to be, right now, we're up to about 48 different rare salts from around the world. That's the purest salt that I can find. I mean, like I said, we've been working on this for five years or so. It's hopefully will be available in the next few months, and just a dropper full of that, you're going to be getting all the Archaea, and you're going to be getting the pure salts. Because remember, like everywhere around the Earth has different energies and different microbes in it. So basically, this is a global salt that we're producing and that we're working on right now. But yeah, I mean that's just going to have to. Okay, Rachel, liver detox has been known to have effects on the skin. Liver is the liver is so many people's livers are congested. It's so vital to one liver cleanse is only going to clean roughly around 10 to 15% of your liver. I would say, I would depending on your diet, your habits, I would recommend, people do liver cleanse at least once every 3 months. I mean, that's really how bad it is, the attack on our livers right now. And metals, so we didn't even get a chance to talk really about what's currently going on and what our research team has been working on for the last few months. I have 5 minutes. I'll kind of just touch into this. So we invested in a very robust research team. We've been working, well, really since 2018, but more or less, more intensely over the last year, focusing on unraveling the transhumanism agenda. We've got our team has 3 of the Echo Discovery microscopes. There's only 5,000 of them in the world. And we are diligently looking at blood and urine and saliva samples and trying to identify all of the synthetic biology that is being put upon us through the air, the food, the water, and the bioweapons and the shots. A lot of this has to do with frequency. Everything has to do with frequency. But so we've identified many, many strange synthetic hydrogels and lipid nanoparticles and quantum dots and graphene substrates and weird synthetic looking parasites and all kinds of stuff in people's blood. And so we've been really trying to figure out how to attack and detoxify and get rid of these things. So I'll leave you guys with this. Get rid of, they need the metals in your body. They need the inorganic minerals in your body to activate this nanotechnology. Use the glycerisomal, the microsomal EDTA. I mean, I know that the EDTA is a synthetic product, and it's one of the things that I have used sometimes, but never really recommend it because I'm all organic and natural. However, we're in a whole nother world now. We're dealing with synthetic stuff, and EDTA is one of the things that's working really, really efficiently at getting rid of and disabling the nanotechnology. Do parasite cleansing. You have to get rid of the parasites, the yeast and the bacteria in your body. Drink the distilled water, get rid of the inorganic minerals, and try to protect yourself as much as possible from any frequencies. Some of the best things that protect you from radiation are iodine, boron, chaga mushroom, really strong internal protectants. Of course, urine will protect you and detox you from pretty much everything. So those are some of the things that we've been working on. Our boron is not full spectrum, unfortunately. we tried to and are still trying to get a high source of boron extracted from plants. The fact of the matter is, we're coming to the conclusion that there's just no more boron left in the soil. And that's a long conversation about how they killed all the boron off. I mean, ginkgo biloba is the highest plant with boron. We tried doing supercritical extraction. There's basically no boron left in it. So what we're using is a calcium fructoborate. It is as natural as you can get. Borax, I mean, borax, you could take a little bit of that too. You're still going to get some boron from the borax. It's ours is microsomal though. It's a glycerosomal process that we developed. And we're wrapping these things in little tiny lipid particles. Of course, everything's done raw and cold and all that. So it's completely safe and natural. But here's the thing. I mean, big pharma and these cabal people are using nanotechnology. A capsule that you're taking is 60 microns in size. It's the difference between a mountain and a tricycle. In order for us to get to the level that they're using, we need to do the same thing, except the way we're doing it, we're not using chemicals and, stuff. We're using ancient Tibetan sound waves in a process that we developed, a cold process to be able to nanoparticleize, spin, charge, infuse with scalar wave technology, and then wrap with a cold process into glycerosomes, which are about 10 to 20 or even 30% more powerful and bioavailable than liposomes or liposomal technology or lipospheric technology. So we're trying to keep up, basically in our industry, in the nutraceutical and dietary supplement industry, there hasn't been any innovations in 100 years, right? Like, what do we have? We still have capsules. We have alcohol-based tinctures. We have liposomal, lipospheric, which is just a big scam. When we started testing all the companies' stuff, they were claiming lipospheric and liposomal. They didn't even have any electron microscopy to even prove their technology. They're like, oh, we're just adding phospholipids in there or sunflower lecithin, and we're mixing it together, and now we can call it liposomal. There's so much scam in our industry, and there's so much infiltration in our industry. It's really sickening that what our industry has came to. There's so much contamination in herbs and so much contamination in all this other stuff. It's we need more people actually to come into the supplement industry that have good morals and are not just, everything's getting bought up. It's all getting bought up left and right. We get 3 offers a day now for our company. And, that's not what we're about. We're not selling out. We're here to, save humanity, not, contaminate humanity even more. So if you're taking supplements from any company, you need to do your due diligence. Call up the company and ask them, are they NSF certified? If they're NSF certified, they're sterilizing and radiating and microwaving all their ingredients. Ask them to send you over a country of origin list for all the ingredients in the product. Not asking where they get the product. They'll say, oh, that's proprietary information. We can't share that. Hey, I'm not asking, who you're getting your product from. I'm just asking you for the country of origin. What's wrong with that? Start doing your due diligence, talking to your supplement companies. Find out who owns the company. Nestle owns Garden of Life, Pure Encapsulations. I mean, are you giving money to the enemy every day? Sometimes I can't believe that doctors are getting their products manufactured at contract manufacturers. And I ask them, I'm like, hey, so what's the country of origin on all these herbs in your product here? And they're like, I don't know. I just get a contract manufacturer to do it for me. If you're putting something in your body, find out, do your own diligence, do your own research, talk to the company. Who are they owned by? Are they owned by big pharma? Are they owned by private equity? Where are they getting their herbs from? Are they heating their stuff up? Are they third-party CGMP certified? Are they NSF certified, which you don't want? Start asking all those questions. And, you have to ask questions all the time to make sure that you're consuming clean, good stuff and you're putting good stuff into your body. So
Great. Thank you.
thanks for having me on. That was fun.
I'd like to do one last thing just to bring it back full circle to the spiritual stuff. If you just want to leave us with a message for the hope and faith, because I think that's the critical part, the highest power that we can focus on. And thank you very much for your time. Really, it was fun. I'm so grateful for you for being here. It's great. And just leave us any suggestions or hope that you have, seeing the big picture as you do, and seeing such intense connection with all these different parts that are going on in the knowledge you have of the truth about all these different companies like Nestle and all these other things. But we need to go on a word of hope as we depart from this great discussion today. What do you have to say for us to feel hope to go forward?
Just spend time with yourself and learn to just appreciate yourself and just work on yourself. The more that you grow internally, the more your aura grows, the more your consciousness grows. And it's the 100th monkey phenomenon. If you work on yourself and you really start truly loving yourself and taking care of yourself and thanking yourself, patting yourself on the back when you do a good job. Don't worry about everything else in the world. Don't even worry is a negative emotion. Just focus on becoming the best person that you can become. And if you do that and you start cleaning your external environment and you clean your internal environment and you just focus on yourself, everything else will just roll, perfectly for you. People will come to you, they'll see your shine, they'll see your glow, they'll ask you what you're doing. That's the thing. We focus so much of our time on outside of ourselves. And really the secret is to focus on your own growth. I mean, that's why you're here. You're here to focus on your own growth and balancing out your life and becoming a better person and growing spiritually and mentally and physically and raising your vibration and your consciousness. And everybody will be happy if you're happy and confident and healthy. So that's my 2 cents. Just love yourself and focus on yourself and be a better person and thrive to improve yourself every single day.
Thanks very much. The inner journey, I think that's a good way to end it. That brings all of us together. Thank you very much, Dr. Group. Appreciate your time. And I hope everybody had a good experience listening to this great word. Great conversation. The truth is very inspiring. And like you said, do your homework, everybody. Do your homework. Do your homework and really check out things, and don't trust anything until you really have good ownership of what's going on. But anyway, thank you, Dr. Group, and all the work that you do. Sorry for holding you up later there. And I look forward to being in touch again. And for all the people that are listening, this has been recorded and we'll play it again. Have a good night, everyone, and take care.
Have the best night ever.
Take care.